Nā, neke atu I te tahi tau, a Leith Comer e toi hauana I te Puni Kōkiri. Ko tā tana tari, e werohia tonu tia nei e te tī e te tā, he whakawhanake ake I te pitomata Māori. He oi tāria te wā, ka whakahouhia te tari nei. I kōrero motuhake a Leith Comer, kia roi hana nuri.
No, but it's still beautiful. There they go.
It's a bit like I've got two sides of my brain. One side of my brain is thinking, it's been a great privilege and pleasure to lead TPK, but it's now time to finish, and I'm looking forward to that happening. But another side of my brain is a little bit anxious, because I've been in a paid role since I was 17, always had a proper job, as it were, and so the unknown post TPK is a little daunting. So there are things on this property for fun, like the horses, but there are things on this property that actually feed the whānau. And it's a bit like old MacDonald had a farm, eggs everywhere. Well, first of all, you don't have a great deal of spare time in this role, but the thing that I like doing, if I get the time, is to play golf. Ooh, that was awful. My golf at the moment is on a downhill slide, but I hope once I leave to Puni Kōkiri I can rectify that. That's better. There is going to be a refocusing report which will become public shortly, and I think you'll see from that some really well-defined and purposeful objectives for Te Puni Kōkiri to achieve. So it's an organisation that has a future, that has good people in it, and I think it'll continue to support Māori in their endeavours.
From army to bureaucracy,
yes.
What have been the challenges, and what are the two experiences been like for you?
Well, there's a lot of similarities in lots of ways. You have people going to work, whether it's in the army or the public service, to provide service to the country. You have people pretty committed to the kaupapa. You would think that the army is a little more structured than the public service, but there are similarities there.
In a sense, it's sort of like a battle plan, bringing a battle plan to Te Puni Kōkiri. Do you think people will be surprised to know that that's the type of leadership and that's the type of quality you brought to Te Puni Kōkiri?
I think that people probably have been able to observe that there is a good feeling inside Te Puni Kōkiri, that there is a good environment, that people anywhere in the organisation can pick up the rākau and lead. And we have that. You just have to walk in through the front door and you've got an iconic leader there in Hika. Morena Hika. How's your weekend? Good. The first thing you have to remember is that you are a public servant. You are there to serve the government of the day and the ministers of the day, and if you don't like that, you should leave. It does get difficult when the priorities of your minister and the government don't exactly align to the priorities and feelings of Marae. Morning, everybody. Hope everyone had a great weekend.
People sort of watching this interview, wondering what has been the value for you of Te Puni Kōkiri existing?
Well, it comes back to a way a government wants to behave and perform, and the government of today sees a role for a Minister of Māori Affairs and Associate Ministers of Māori Affairs. And those ministers and associate ministers need public servants to provide them with support to enable them to have the input into the policy discussions that go on inside government every day.
But for Leith Comer and TPK, it hasn't always been smooth sailing.
Te Puni Kōkiri is supposed to open doors to Māori development, but it's bullying of the department's own female staff which is attracting concern.
It's their perception, it's done anonymously, and what they might consider bad behaviour may well be somebody telling them in a loud voice that they can't take leave or they're not going to get a pay rise.
This is nothing more than a slush fund, isn't it?
None of the reports that any auditor has done has said we are spending this money inappropriately.
Me aha a Peter Sharples, hei whakatika tika I tana tari.
Me o hoa ki.
me te mehe ki te hanga parangi a mai ana kanoi, e o hoa.
Yeah, of course there have been some tough times. Some of them have been things that have been of our own making. We and I have made mistakes along the way, and other times it's been people's view of things, but that I think have been a little unkind actually. But nevertheless, you have to deal with them. And I think what it shows is you have to have personal resilience, and the organisation has to have resilience. When you get tested, you have to, if you've made a mistake, you have to own up to it, you have to accept the mistake, correct and move on. And the organisation is a better organisation having gone through those bad times.
Do you want to give that a bit of a clean up?
I think sometimes when I've come home and occasionally where I've moaned about things and said life's tough, a couple of times Fia said, well, that's why you get paid the big bucks. You know, sort of get back on your horse and get back there. So she's been particularly good at reminding me of I have those responsibilities, and with those responsibilities come the ups and the downs, and you've just got to deal with them both.
Let's talk about your future now.
Yes.
What is in store for Leith Comer?
I want to be involved in continuing the relationship between China and Marae and to encourage Māori business. I'd like to get involved in the treaty settlements area. I'd like to get involved in Māori tourism. So I have a sense that my life is going to be made up of a collection of kaupapa that I'm interested in, and that hopefully I can make a contribution. But in the main, I'm looking forward to finishing what has been a great time at TPK.